in the same. Welcome to Holding Space.
Okay, New York's top DEI podcast. You're right, babes.
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. I am swell.
Swell.
Yes.
Why are you swell? What's
because
going on?
we are continuing this Pride episode series, I guess.
Homosexual agenda. We're continuing to push it.
The homosexual agenda. Lock up your sons and daughters.
Ooh.
So I wanted to hold space this week for T.S. Madison.
I felt like a Spanish, like a Puerto Rican in this hair. I felt Puerto Rican. Y'all know I loves me some Puerto Rican. I felt Puerto Rican in this. Rican. Whoa. Beady, 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 bum, bum.
Selena wasn't Puerto Rican, bro.
Selena wasn't Puerto Rican?
No.
She was Mexican.
Yeah, brother.
Beady, 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 bum, bum. Beady, beady, bum, bum. But the girl that played her Puerto Rican.
That's not the point, though.
J-Lo, she Puerto Rican.
That's not the point, though. She's playing the real person. The real person. The real person. The real artist that she's playing is not Puerto Rican.
Well, J-Lo ain't Motown either, but she was singing Motown.
Yes.
And there are several reasons why. Obviously, I think similar to Beyonce, you couldn't hold space for T.S. Madison any week.
Yes.
For any episode of any week. But particularly, I felt like it was important to do it this week because not do I think that she's an amazing addition to RuPaul's Drag Race. I think that that judging panel needed some refreshing.
Yeah.
Love Ross Matthews and
Carson.
But I felt like seeing La Roche and T.S. Madison there every now and then just kind of lifts it a little bit, which is quite nice.
For sure.
And then also, obviously, she had a Renaissance moment as well, which was amazing. Do you not know that?
You were saying she's on the album?
She's on the album.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you were saying she had a personal renaissance.
No.
I was like, wait, what?
She obviously was recently in Beauty in the Black, which was a #1 show that Tyler Perry did. And so, obviously, she is, for a lot of trans women and the queer community at large, a role model and very much becoming an icon as somebody that lives authentically and loudly as themselves, right?
Boldly.
But I also wanted to hold space for them this week because of the fact that, it's not just what they're doing in the entertainment industry, which should be applauded, but the fact that they're able to talk about the trans experience at a time that is very contentious for trans people, to say the least, and talk about it in a way that allows for really ignorant people and also uneducated people to understand in a way that is digestible for them.
Right.
And I always feel like whenever I've watched her, so obviously recently she was interviewed by Nene Leakes.
Yeah.
I think she was also interviewed by Monique.
That was a little while ago.
A little while ago,
but yeah.
But she always seems to come from a place of wanting to share.
Yeah.
Wanting you to understand.
Yes.
And doesn't expect you to have the knowledge and the information.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think that's the criticism that the queer community gets a lot of the time, which is we will blast people for not having the knowledge, the right terminology, etc. And so, yes, obviously, watching her in that interview with Nene.
Do you only know gay men?
Well, I don't date gay men.
Well, okay. Well, I when you guys be saying that, that's weird.
Why?
Because what do you mean you don't date gay men? Because if he is sleeping with you and sleeping with a woman, he's something.
Well, he's not gay.
What is he?
He's definitely not gay.
He's bi?
Listen, because if a man come in here and he looks at me and you.
Yeah. What is he?
Well, he likes women.
Yeah, because he doesn't know.
Well, and if he does know, he likes women.
Okay.
Now,
but what is he?
Well, that would possibly, it's a possibility.
He's bisexual?
He could be bi or he could be pan.
Okay, guys.
You know, a lot of men are
Yeah.
a lot of men are paying, but they don't say anything. Like
I don't want to run into them. I don't want to date him.
Nene, if you've dated,
I need you to like.
Nene, if you've
Hello
dated,
Kitty all the time.
if you've dated men,
Yes.
if you've dated men, there's a possibility in your life that
He's been with a man.
he's been with something.
What do you mean he's been with something?
He's been outside. I mean, here's the thing. I know that women consider trans women men because we were born male, but there's a difference between being man and male.
I get it. But you have your part.
That's correct.
So he can love you and think you're so beautiful, and I want to sit with you.
There are men who deal with me that won't touch my parts. Anytime you see
But does he know it's there?
Yeah, he knows it's there. I'm not hiding it.
Oh, you're not?
No.
I mean, that
Listen,
wouldn't make any sense for
Well,
me.
I've had gentlemen to tell me, hey, put a pillow over that. And I'm like, well, you're not the nigga for me. You don't have to touch it and deal with it, but I'm not hiding shit from you.
So, okay, wait a minute. We got to go back and figure this out.
Yeah.
So the man...
Now we talking.
Yeah, so the man going to be sleeping with me and you? I don't want to talk to him no more.
You don't?
Why the hell you going to sleep with me then going to sleep with you for?
Men like variety.
Oh, please. I don't want him.
Well, shit, I mean, hey, but it's happening.
I'm over it.
But these things, this is what women...
That's why I'm not even dating. I mean,
Nene, I feel like being unintentionally ignorant, meaning that, like, I don't think what she was trying to say was coming from a bad place.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, what she was saying was offensive.
Yes.
In that clip.
Yeah, it was definitely some learned behaviors, I'm sure, from society, like societal norms.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think it was like malicious intent, but...
Well, but I guess the reason why I think people were a little hard on Nene is because, you know, she claims to go to LA Pride and be on a float. She claims to go to DC Pride and be on a float.
Yeah.
She claims to be a icon within the queer community, which she very much is. She has been able to use queer culture, even on The Real Housewives, from the things that she says or the way that she says it. It's very clear that a lot of that is naturally her, but also came from gay men.
Yeah.
So the least that you can do is to be a little bit more educated than what was shown. Yeah. I'm not saying you need to know everything, but what was shown felt surprising because of how little you seem to understand the relationships that trans people have.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely a little shocking because of the way that we know Nene leaks.
Yeah.
And to see it come out as like such an ignorant moment also, and reinforcing some of those things that the queer community already fights against. Yeah, it was definitely a little shocking.
Yeah. And I think that, like, as I said, I think TS tried her best to get her to understand that the way that she was thinking just didn't make sense, period.
Yeah.
Because, like, assuming that because a man has intimate feelings for a trans woman, then they must be gay.
Yeah.
Just as a sentence doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I felt like she had to reiterate that to her. And I'm not sure by the end of the interview if she still understood why she said what she said. There wasn't great resolution. There wasn't reflection from Nene to be like, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt like we will agree to disagree.
Right. Yeah, I think it also, like, it's interesting because you can kind of see the way that, like, hypermasculinity and toxic masculinity, like, connect to transphobia, because really the concept of, like, a man being bisexual and being interested in both men and women was such a turnoff for her because of this version of masculinity that she's looking for. But being a bisexual man does not make you less masculine. So, and that then trickles to transphobia because you have a community that is kind of in a blurred gender moment, right? In terms of, like, sex and how that relates to gender, and how that now that hypermasculinity or toxic masculinity kind of trickles down to that thinking of like, well, this is basically the same thing, which it's not. And also not crediting trans women as women. And that's like obviously one of the bigger issues. So
yeah, and it, again, I said this on a previous episode, but it's this weird thing where some women, anyway, will have such a outward disgust to bisexual men.
Yeah.
However, not all men, but a large portion of men love the idea of women on women, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even on TV shows. Oh my God, girl action!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've seen that on so many fucking teen movies where it's sort of like girl on girl action. Did you see that?
Right.
Kind of thing. Like, it's kind of platformed as this kind of amazing thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas for men, that's not the situation at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think of like this conversation also kind of omits like straight men who may or may not be interested in trans women, but straight men who are interested in like anal play. Like, even if I don't want to be with a man, right, and I don't want to be bisexual, I like anal stimulation. So like, you know what I mean? Like that, you're kind of completely removing that from the conversation too. Like, you could be the most masculine and like, but you could still like.
It's funny though. I'm starting to see slight change in straight men who are more open with the fact that like
sex is sex.
They want to be licked everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Have fun. Like, that's the point.
And obviously a lot of this comes from religion and being constrained and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a freedom that they're struggling with that I feel like the queer community has.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there is some envy there at how free we actually are.
Oh, for sure.
Compared to them.
For sure.
And you sometimes see that again within the church because a lot of those people are so constrained.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they do in the darkness are not great things because of the fact that they can't express themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think I just wanted to hold space for T.S. Madison right at the top because, I think that she is one of one at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of being okay to put herself in positions where she knows that she may end up in a conversation that is pretty ignorant and not be reactionary to it.
Yeah.
And reactionary doesn't need to mean argue or fight. It could mean cry. It could mean walk off set. It could mean I'm never coming back to this show, right?
Yeah.
And so it's great to see a trans woman who's so comfortable in her skin to talk about her experience in the way that she has from sex work to now working in mainstream entertainment. And I can imagine that for many people, although I have a feeling she probably wouldn't call herself a role model, for a lot of people, they must see her as one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she's definitely a pioneer. So everything that she does. And I think, the way that she handles the conversations, the uncomfortable conversations, it's like...
I think there's a lot that we can learn from.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, like, even as, like, whether you're looking at the right and the left, or whether you're looking at homophobic people to I think that for us, we've been lucky to get to a point where we're like, if you don't understand, I'm not having a conversation about it.
Right.
And that's for the most part because our lives are not at risk. We don't have to.
Right.
Whereas I feel like for the trans community, they're not in a scenario where things have progressed so much for them where they can just be like, well, if you don't understand, that's not my business. They still are trying to get people to acknowledge the fact that they deserve to have the lives that they have.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think it's interesting because I feel like she was in the conversation with Nini. I think she was trying to kind of get to the point that maybe she wasn't, but it also kind of draws to the point that through Nini's perspective of that hypermasculine, like, I don't want anything but a man who fucks with a female woman, or a biological woman, that mindset actually is also what causes violence towards trans women.
Absolutely.
And how that cycle is.
And it's crazy because in the interview, she was talking about violence against trans women prior.
Yeah,
right?
because she was talking about her house that she just opened.
Yeah.
Too.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, incredible. But yeah.
Okay. Wow. So I want to move on to Deep or Down. And I'm just going to start with saying this is definitely, this clip anyway is a dumb clip.
Yeah.
Which I'll put here.
Have to do now is talk about the protections of trans women and trans men who are often left out of the debate. And actually, I think within this debate, I actually think we shouldn't have debates anymore without a trans man or a trans woman being included in the debate, because it's always talking about them without them. And in regards to bathrooms, which is always this sort of vexed issue, what really concerns me is that, I mean, trans women should, in my opinion, of course, still continue to use women's bathrooms. They can't,
that's literally not what the law says.
But let me just
that's
let
the
me
whole
just
point
talk
of this
through.
ruling.
Let me just safe spaces. There's not been a safe space is a safe space. I do not police people in public toilets. And I think that's where we're getting to as society, in policing what a woman looks like. You know, I have a butch lesbian friend who gets hounded out of women's toilets, and it is heartbreaking to the point where we have to escort her into the toilet because she's going to be hounded out, and we need to stop that. And what concerns me about the toilet debate is if trans men then have to use women's toilets, that's going to make women less safe, because how are you going to stop a man, a normal man, going into a woman's toilets and saying, I'm a trans man? And so I think we have to look at
I don't follow that logic.
Why?
Because the point is that we're saying that people who are biologically men shouldn't be using women's toilets. That's the point of this ruling, among other things.
But a trans man is biologically a woman.
Someone who's transitioned from being a woman to a man is...
And so they would then have to use women's toilets.
I think this...
And that's the problem. That is the problem, and that's what concerns me.
I'll be honest, this is something that we can talk about an awful lot more and debate an awful lot more, and I thank both of you for doing it in a respectful way.
Yeah, it's a genuinely contentious one.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts. Okay, drives me nuts. First of all, why the fuck do you care? Trans people are not the problem. Just so we're all clear, trans people are not the problem when it comes to women's endangerment. Men, biological men, straight men, cis men are the problem. So, like, the fact that we are choosing this as a debate topic, as an argument, and claiming to make women safer, it's stupidity. It's stupidity.
So as you can see, this is not just a US problem. This is also a UK problem. And, you know, that clip went viral at the time.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me because I think that, like, number one, the guy obviously doesn't know what he's talking about.
No idea.
Again, I said it on previous episodes that for some reason, it's because of the proximity to women rather than them also looking at trans men. He didn't even consider the fact that trans men exist at all, right? And to your point, what really bugs me about this is that none of these conversations have anything to do with the facts.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with data.
Nothing.
I think I would have more patience for these kinds of people if there was some data to back up what they were saying.
Yes.
Let's have a conversation because you've been able to do some research and what you're saying actually makes sense.
Right. But
actually, there is no data to back up what you're saying.
Data.
You're saying what you're you're saying because of what might happen, which doesn't happen, and the feeling of how it makes certain people feel.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I don't want to use public toilets.
Yeah.
If I have to use a public toilet, it's because I really, really, really have to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the last thing I'm doing is engaging with anyone in the toilet.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so therefore, this narrative that has been created around trans women about what supposedly would happen in the toilet is insane.
Yeah.
Cisgendered men throughout history have never had to disguise themselves to attack women.
Right.
So I don't understand why today they would go, oh, do you know?
Unless they're using it as an extra ploy. There's a whole nother thing there. But anyway, keep going. Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that, like, it really bothers me that I think that's my number one thing. Aside from the fact that they're punching downwards on a community that is already really suffering and is the minority within the minority. It's the fact that none of this is based in fact.
Right.
And so I did some research on what the facts actually are in reference to women and the
women's safety.
The safety that they have in the UK. And the first thing that I found in my research was that a woman is killed by a man every 3 days in the UK. None of those people are trans. Wouldn't it have been nice if this man who was on the news show was using the time that he had on the news show to talk about that?
Yeah.
Because that feels more pressing.
Right.
That feels like an epidemic.
Yeah.
That, like, women are being killed every 3 days.
Every 3 days.
Huh. Let's move on.
Yeah.
1.6 women experience domestic abuse each year. Not by trans people. Wouldn't it have been nice that, like, if they were going to have a topic about women's safety, that they talk about that? I would believe that one of those 1.6 million women would have loved being acknowledged in that way.
Right.
Rather than talking about this boogeyman that doesn't exist.
Right. But it's also, the other irritating part about it, and yes to all of this, the other irritating part about it is it's making another problem. It's not actually solving the problem.
No.
It's just creating a different kind of problem, which actually is probably more
But what's the problem?
Impactful. It's still men. It's still men. But what I mean is, like, making it even easier for cis men to enter women's bathrooms.
They don't have to disguise themselves.
Right. Like,
but what I want to understand is there a high number of cisgendered men that are disguising themselves?
No, but what I'm saying is, by doing that, you don't even have to.
Right. I get that. But, and also, my thing is, why are we so caught up about the toilets? Like,
you want to get in and out. It's not like you're hanging out. Like,
but also, if a man wants to do some sort of abuse to a woman, he doesn't have to wait for her to go into a public restroom to do it.
Right.
Because, by the way, you know, and I don't know if it's my next point, not my next point, but by the way, most abuse that I just mentioned happens in their own household.
Yeah.
It's most likely to be your brother, your husband, your fiance, your boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's your dad. It's most likely to be the person that you know.
Yep.
It's not going to be the trans person that most people have never even met. Most people have never even met a trans person and has an opinion on trans people. So there's that. 57, sorry, my eyes, I have my glasses. 97% of convicted sexual offenders in 2023 were men, often known to the victim. So my point is that, like, whether they have known or not known, it's not trans people.
Right.
And then the last point that I had was less than 25% of abuse cases are even reported, even fewer are prosecuted.
Yeah.
So the reason why I wanted to include that point is because we are sitting here having a conversation about trans women using toilets. Multiple news platforms have had debates like the one that we've just shown you.
Yeah.
Loads of talk shows, lots of newspapers have had columns around this issue.
Yeah.
Would you not instead want to use the platform to encourage more women to talk about the abuse that they are actually having, rather than the imaginary one that we've created?
But resources towards pursuing that,
Pursuing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would we not want to, like, imagine if all those column inches and all of that camera time was used to talk about these
real issues. Yes. Yes.
That are actually affecting women every day.
Right. Right.
Then, and most likely to be people that you work with.
Yeah.
People that serve you at the store.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that these facts are talking about.
Right.
Right?
Right.
These people are not being affected by trans people.
Right.
And so, like, it just really bothers me that on news platforms especially, we see debate about not things that are factual,
right,
but are about how people feel.
Right.
And I'm just sort of just like, RuPaul says it all the time, feelings are not facts.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Feelings are not facts.
It kind of reminds me of the debate with, and this is not equating drag queens to trans people, but drag queens reading to kids.
Yeah.
And like how grooming and sexual assault.
Where are they?
Where are they? And then, but pastors?
Oh, let's leave them in the church.
We've had that
Unaccompanied.
for
right.
who knows how long, and you still haven't done shit about it.
And you've done nothing about it. And
so like,
similar on an adjacent point, at the moment, the UK is having a discussion again about the burqa and whether women should be allowed to wear the burqa and whether they're going to ban it because it's unsafe for women to walk around. Well, there are two things: is that they could be a terrorist, or that they're being controlled and they don't want to wear it and they're being forced to wear it, so we should ban it, right? And my thing is that, like, show me the data of all the women that were in burqas that did terrorist acts in the UK.
Right.
Show me the data.
Right.
And if you have the data, then we can have a conversation on whether it is safe or not.
Right. Right.
Show me all the data of all the women that went to the police station and said, I'm being controlled and I don't want to wear this and I have to wear it.
Right. Right.
I want to take it off.
Yeah.
And show me that data and then we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
But it's
100%.
not. It's things that you assumed.
Yes.
And your feelings.
Yes.
And your underlying control of women.
Yeah.
Both trans women and, on this case, Muslim women.
Uh-huh.
And also, what's it called? Your control of women, but also your underlying hatred.
Yeah. Yeah, towards women.
Towards women.
Yeah.
That you are just using all of these different look over there examples to try and get your way.
Right. And distract from real issues.
So, I want to follow this logic of...
Take us there.
I want to follow this logic.
Uh-huh.
So, you want to ban trans women from using women's bathrooms because you feel that something could happen and you feel like you might be uncomfortable if you come into contact with one.
Uh-huh.
I want to create some rules based on the facts that I just read out of how men are unsafe to women.
Let's go.
So, men and women shouldn't live together anymore, marry or date.
Or roommates.
Or be roommates. Because as we know, most abuse happens from a known person, most of the time at home.
Yep.
There was a fact that came out and said that a lot of the time in the UK, women tend to get abused after a sports game. Oh. Because if the guy's team lost, he comes out and he takes it out on her. Yes.
Oh, fucking immature.
Well, yeah.
Like, what? Stop having a fucking tantrum.
And so they get
be an adult.
very anxious about whether the team will win or not. Can you imagine feeling safe or not in your home on whether a football game was won or not? Second one, no shared offices, classrooms, gyms, or public transport. So I feel like we need to, let's write a letter to the MTA.
Uh-huh.
We need different subway stations for men and women.
Uh-huh.
I will call the London Underground.
It'll be men go to one side, women go to the other side. There's a blockade between.
A men-only carriage, a women-only carriage. Yeah. No co-ed schools, festivals, hospitals, or worship spaces. So all of you Christians, let's divide the churches. Okay. Education, public education. We need boy-only schools. Let's go back to that. Boys only and girls only schools. Festivals. Sorry, Sierra, but you're going to have to perform twice.
Or
or you can't even perform to men, period, right?
Take it there.
We can't even perform to men, Sierra. So
why are you picking on Sierra?
I don't want to in my
She
head.
got a bone to pick with you.
Sierra's in my head.
Okay.
So Sierra, sorry, babes. You
For
can't
good reasons. For good reasons, you're on her mind.
Right? Your fan base, which is heavily gay, can't perform to them anymore. Okay?
No. The gays.
No mixed gender rehab centers, shelters, Uber rides, or courtrooms. Why? Ooh.
We're just thinking about like Ubers.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of women drivers.
No. Women who want to get home late. Sorry.
Yeah.
How are you getting home?
Yeah.
And the last one was no men in the government and no men in the ER.
Perfect. I agree to that one to begin with.
But putting this list together makes you realize how ridiculous the actual conversation, and this is based on actual data.
Supported facts.
This is supported facts. So if we were going to do this, we actually have a good reason to.
Right.
So the fact that we are debating something that has no facts at all really should highlight to everybody how stupid this is, to say the least.
Yeah.
And again, just punching down on a group of people that already are a minority within a minority and need an incredible amount of support and already just find it difficult to just live.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, to roll back, I don't know where this will lead. It's very sad because I feel like a couple of years ago, I feel like we were seeing real progress.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when Pose came out and I was just like, I can't believe there's a mainstream show that all the women in the show are trans.
Yeah.
Like I did not feel, and I now feel like Pose was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I give a lot of credit to RuPaul's Drag Race because I feel like, you know, he did get a lot of flack for not wanting to have trans people in the show a couple of years back. But now it's the show that has the most trans representation at the moment and gives them a platform to humanize their experiences.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I can't think of one season recently anyway where there hasn't been some sort of trans representation.
Right.
So, yeah.
I have one more point that I'm curious what your thoughts are regarding the trans conversation. Bathrooms aside.
Yeah.
What about locker rooms? So I've had conversations with some conservative women. And one of the discomforts that fuels the argument is that if we are in a locker room and we're getting changed side by side, basically I have to look at your junk if you still have it and how discomforting that is or triggering that is from a woman's perspective.
I really struggle with these spaces that people are saying all of this.
Like hypothetical.
Yeah, but I really struggle with all of these spaces that people use as hypotheticals where all of these things are happening that, like, I just don't relate to. Like, I go to the gym every day. Sometimes I use the gym to change, right? Guys are there changing. I'm a gay man. I tend to not really stare at men that are changing. I think it's uncomfortable and inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
And so therefore, if I was in a changing room with a woman who was getting changed, I wouldn't stop and stare to see what her vagina looked
100%.
like.
Yeah.
I think just looking at anyone, like her saying that is a problem to me because I think looking at anyone's intimate part is strange. So unless you feel like this person's going to come and be like, like, I don't really understand. It's uncomfortable for them too.
Yeah.
You know.
That was my thinking. Was like, this is an uncomfortable space for somebody who's.
There's so many trans people that talk very openly about the many years and decades where they have to live uncomfortably in their own body. Right. So being in an open space. Would probably be very uncomfortable for them. And they probably would do whatever they needed to do to change as fast as they could.
Agreed,
They wouldn't
not be out in the open.
And not be out in the open. They wouldn't necessarily care about you. And by the way, if penis, whether you are a lesbian or you're straight, if penis triggers you so much, you should be in a padded room or you should talk to somebody. I'm so sorry. If it triggers you that much that you are willing to campaign to ban people from using it, you should go and talk to somebody. Because to me, I sometimes, most of the time, look at these parts as anatomy.
Yeah, that's all it is.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not an erected penis, it's a flaccid penis.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily find that attractive.
Also, oftentimes smaller, if honest.
You know what I mean? Like,
so, yeah.
in the middle of the day. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I struggle with that a little bit because I don't see these changing rooms and these toilets as these breathing rooms of people.
Oh, they're not. They're absolutely not.
Like,
yeah.
And you think a lot about yourself to think that I would be interested in you.
Well, the other thing that I was thinking about as you were talking about the triggering, it's funny because conservatives generally say that liberals are triggered by too much. And so, like, if that is something that's triggering to you, you're, which we know to be which we know to be true, a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Like,
you're an adult woman.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you are saying to me that anatomy triggers you.
Yeah.
Go and speak to someone.
Right. You go into the museums, seeing all those
what
statues.
Statue? Mark Anthony?
Right.
What's it called?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Naked man, all of them are
the naked man with this small, flaccid penis. If you see that, do you start rocking? Do you start calling your mom saying, "Oh my God, I just saw a cemented penis and I'm gonna jump into the Hudson River"? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I
and
agree.
maybe I would love, by the way, if someone's listening to this and disagrees with us and wants to explain to me why I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I would love to have that conversation and discuss that. But I'm telling you, Z, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't get it.
I agree.
Facts don't back it up. Anatomy is just that, genitals.
Yeah.
I don't understand why any of these things would trigger you.
Mm-hmm.
You should go and talk to somebody. That sounds like you have got personal issues that you've got to work out. Why is that now everyone's problem?
Right. Which is what you also don't want to happen for liberals.
We couldn't apply this, and that's my other thing. Trans people are the only people that they feel they have the right to talk about in this way.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Meaning that there are no other group of people that you can apply this to.
Right.
Black people shouldn't do sports. Black people shouldn't come into the changing room. Black people, I was robbed by a black person, so I never want a black person to come into this store. That is stupid.
Yeah.
We don't apply this in any other way.
Other context.
In any other context.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a man was sexually abused by a gay man, so now no gay people should be allowed in that space. That doesn't happen.
Right.
You would say that was ridiculous.
Right.
So the fact that we don't even have examples to give on trans people, but we want to do that.
Right.
Again, to me, the whole thing just doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't.
So I'll leave it at that.
Also, it just creates more fear and whatnot, and then obviously just pushes the violence against trans women and men to the next level.
I mean, and listen, it is a reflection of where we're at in the world right now, where we're just punching down. You know what I'm saying? It's really sad to be living at a time where it feels like being uplifting, trying to be understanding, having a sense of fucking humanity is not the in thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Should we jump into
Please.
Dear Z and Lee?
Yeah.
All right. I've heard about this trend called reverse catfishing, where people intentionally show the less glamorous and unfiltered version of themselves online in order to attract a genuine connection. Is this actually a smart authenticity, or just another filtered fantasy in reverse? Ooh. How do we know when honesty feels real versus performative?
I mean, I kind of love this and I kind of don't. I can relate to it because one of my exes, we met on Tinder. This was a while ago, and we matched on a day that I was incredibly hungover, and he came over. I was like in dirty pajama bottoms. I was like, I'm not going to have sex with you.
Yeah.
You can come over if you want. He used to tell the story and say that I didn't even offer him a glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in a relationship for 2.5 years.
Okay.
And so...
That was the first meeting?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so that is, I think, seeing someone at their worst, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could upload pictures of me looking raggedy to the internet.
Well,
is that what they're saying?
It's like a Finsta. Like a Finsta.
How do you meet people then?
I think it's usually private, and then you accept. I don't know if this is the same thing.
It says online to attract genuine connections. So do I need to build... I was thinking that they put less attractive pictures of themselves on dating profiles.
Oh.
That's the way that I took it.
I mean, online could be dating profiles, or it could be like Instagram.
Because a Finsta would make me trust you less.
Why?
Because you have a real Instagram and you're using a Finsta, so that would make me trust you less.
Yeah. Two-faced.
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. I mean...
You just have this Instagram where you look raggedy to contact boys. Are you okay?
Not raggedy with the intention to contact boys, but just more authentic than the filtered self on the...
I don't know.
The influencer focused.
I think that
the page.
I don't know. I'm not going to put raggedy pictures of myself up for the potential of meeting men as I am, right? But I do like to get to crazy as fast as possible when I've met a guy. Like, I don't want to pretend like I'm a normal person for too long because I can't even keep that up for very long.
Yeah.
And I think people catfish like partners by pretending to be sane human beings.
Yeah.
When actually we're all crazy. And so if we show our crazy parts as quickly as possible, then we can decide if it's crazy we're willing to put up with.
Yeah. I have the opposite thing that I do.
What do you do?
Where I am not opposite in terms of like not getting to crazy quickly.
Oh, you say you're crazy.
Not intentional, but like I have a filtered self that is constantly showing.
Do you?
Like, even having you in my apartment, if it's not clean, I don't want you here. It's not clean right now, but we're breaking it. But my point is like this like fake version of yourself. Like, for me, it becomes like I have like a history of like what happens when I get inconveniencing to someone and then them ghosting, like whether it's dating, whether it's hookups, whether it's like long-term friends. Because of that like history, I make seeing myself, them seeing me, as convenient as possible and as perfect as possible, so that it's not inconvenient. Even having my friends over, like,
really,
it's something that this year I literally was like pushing off having one of my friends come over because my apartment wasn't clean. Like, you can't come see this. You're one of my great friends, and I don't want you seeing this. That's a little crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's something I'm working on, but yeah, I would like literally push it off. Be like, can we do it a different day because I couldn't clean my apartment? Like, I wouldn't say that, but like, can we push it off? Like, that's where I am. So when it comes to like dating and stuff, I think I still apply that to meeting for the first time and like the first few times that you come. And I mean, like offering, like being a perfect host, being that like housewife, button up girl, like that's what I tend to do.
How's that working out for you?
Well, I'm not dating, so no, we're working on it though, because like I have had this lesson recently of like allowing people to wait real quick, little sidebar. My grandma passing, there was she did not like to be an inconvenience to people, and seeing how her end of life care and everything else around that funeral service, everything was dealt with, showed that nobody had to be inconvenienced to take care of her. That was a wake-up call, because I'm like, bitch, literally, I can't have a friend over without cleaning my apartment. That's a problem, because that's what I'm seeing as like, that's an inconvenience. Like, if it smells crazy in here, if it's super dusty, or if there's cat fur everywhere, like that's an inconvenience to somebody. So anyway, wake up call to like be like, okay, let's take a look at this. Like, let somebody come through. Let it not be convenient, whether it's a cleaning of apartment or whether it's like, no, I need you to show up for me. I need to give you that option. even if it's a bad time for me, like I want to give you that option to push through the inconvenience that I'm requesting of you to show up the way that you like that my friends should, right?
You know, I think the opposite, with meaning that the more I let it all hang out,
Yeah.
means the closer that we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so therefore, I would probably be like, bitch, I haven't cut out this apartment yet.
Yeah.
Whereas if it is a new relationship,
Yeah.
I definitely would tidy up for the first couple of times.
Right.
But I totally feel you on that. I think that, and I can definitely see that in you for sure.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, maybe we need to learn from each other. You need to let more of the crazy out sooner, and I need to keep some of the crazy in a little bit more.
Yeah, we should actually have a separate episode debriefing this because filtered selves, that's a whole topic.
It's not. I don't really have it.
Oh, I could talk about it for hours, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about filtered self. I don't really have. I mean, I've had to learn to have more of a filter.
Yeah.
But I don't.
More people should have filters. That's part of the discussion because, like, specifically white people, they don't have filters. They're talking about nasty white men, cis white men. You don't have a filter at all because you're in the highest part of privilege, right? So, like, you don't have to have a filter, is what.
You don't have to. You've also been taught that what you say is very important.
Yes. Like, that should not exist.
No.
So most people need filters. But sometimes, like for me personally, I think I take it maybe a little too far. Where I'm like, oh, now I'm so filtered. Like, are you seeing the genuine me or not?
Yeah.
And how long does it take for you to see that?
Right.
So, this is a good question, whoever wrote in.
It is a good question. If you have any questions, review.
Wait, did we actually answer the question? No?
We did. We did. Did we?
Let's see. Wait.
How do we know when honesty feels versus real versus performative?
I don't know if you can. Honestly,
no.
I would say
I think we have answered it because we come from it from different spaces.
Yeah.
You are going to be what they call here a filtered fantasy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be smart, authentic.
I'm the filtered fantasy.
Right. I'm like, no, we need to get to
the straight
how as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's coming.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to be shocked.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
All right. Good question, though. We'll talk more about it another episode.
Great question. If you have any dilemmas, questions, or you just want to tell us a really funny story from your life you want to share, please send to holdingspacepod@gmail.com.
Yeah. Or if you want to shed light on any specific topic, like if you thought that we missed some statistics or something, we gladly would
send those to Z.
Yeah, send them to me. We'll take a look. If we said anything crazy, let us know and we'll
send
talk
them
about
to Z, honey.
Girl.
And
speaking of filters, and she said, "No filter here."
No filter
I'm saying,
here.
please send them so we can filter through them.
I am not filtering through your facts.
Ciao.
Well,
I haven't done that in the past.
We haven't. 2 episodes.
That's my thing.
All
right.
Thanks, guys.
Look us up on all the social medias.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.